Hello, Sioux Falls, and welcome to Planning Preview for the month of June. My name is Jason Bieber with the Planning Office at the City of Sioux Falls, and joining me, as always, is Karla, Urban Planner Extraordinaire from our department.
Yes, thank you for having me again. Let's do it.
Yeah, I love having you on the show to talk about all these things, since you obviously know the most about them, so it's great having you on. So we have kind of some big projects as part of the agenda this month, so maybe let's get into them. We're going to have a couple here. We're going to kind of do more than one application at once because they're all kind of in the general area. So let's talk about all this stuff going up on Mapleton Golf Course area, so north of 90 and east and west of I-29 as you go north there. So what do we all got going up there?
So a new residential neighborhood that will be the center of it, and then transitioning to a little bit higher of uses with the live work and some office pockets surrounding the area. And then to the west it'll be industrial land, so an extension of the industrial park in that neighborhood. And then that road is going to get realigned, and they should start grading that here shortly.
Now you're talking about East 72nd Street,
Yes.
right? That'll come through the residential development. That's kind of part of the Mapleton Golf Club type deal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mapleton and Golf Course is pretty much done, and it'll be a nice addition for our residents to take advantage of.
Yeah, and that'll be nice getting that 72nd Street to come through there, because that'll be another way to get up to the Veteran Cemetery up there. So great development up there, and like you talked a little bit about, next to McGuire Iron is where they'll kind of continue more industrial, correct, over to the street? Yeah, that's a cool building, the McGuire Iron
It's
building
very nice.
that's over there. So, and then I think later on in the agenda, but we'll just talk about, now we have the kind of preliminary subdivision plans for those two that kind of show us like what the development's going to look like.
Yep, it calls
yeah.
out where the residential area is going to be, where the office is going to be, and then looks like there's a good water feature or maybe a drainage pond that maybe we can try and work out some more amenities for the neighborhood.
Yeah, and I think we've talked about internally trying to possibly figure out maybe a way to incorporate that neighborhood, some paths into the golf course, because you know how those people love their golf carts and they like to cruise around the neighborhood in their golf cart since they're close to the golf course. So another fun way to try and maybe get some additional connections to that golf course. So that's great. Another one we got, this I think is an exciting project. So this is a rezone to commercial on 1323 South Minnesota Avenue. So I think it's northwest corner of 22nd and Minnesota, correct?
You got it. So that is a bank that is removing and replacing their building with a new facade, and it'll just match the neighborhood and make some much needed improvements to the site.
Yeah, I think there's the two old Sanford buildings that I think are vacant, and then there was the gas station on that one too. And then, which will be nice because that'll kind of get those redeveloped. I know the Sanford buildings were in kind of rough shape. My wife actually used to work in one of them. So.
Small world, you know, right along Minnesota. That's the welcome to downtown Minnesota Avenue is. So we want to make sure that folks who are coming to enjoy our downtown are got a welcoming space to take advantage of and to enjoy, as opposed to only staying in downtown. So we really value that corridor.
And it's great too. I know that we've had some internal conversations with the property owners there about ways they're not necessarily going to be able to utilize our new zoning district, Midtown mixed use, just because of only it possibly being 2 stories. They're not going to go any higher, but still being able to incorporate some of those elements and try and get the building pushed up to Minnesota Avenue as far as possible. So they've been great to work with, and it's been fun kind of providing some comments for them. So I'm looking forward to seeing that one in the future.
Me too.
Yeah. And then we've got a conditional use permit for a place of worship. So this one we don't see every day. So looks like it's not, because it's not abutting a collector or arterial, they need to go for a public hearing then?
Yep, so our collector and arterials are types of streets that our engineering design standards are built to, and because it doesn't meet that, they are a little bit higher traffic roads, a little bit wider. They're what's called residential streets. So it's just to make sure that the neighborhood is okay with them using this site as a place of worship.
Yeah, and I think it's a pretty small site, and it's like, I think a half a block off of Kiwanis, so there shouldn't be a ton of traffic going through the neighborhood, and that's what we kind of like to see, to make sure that those, like you said, the local streets can handle it. So
it's an existing parking lot, and it's got lots of really nice mature trees and some shrubs. So we're hoping to maybe keep some of those buffering landscaping units in that or there.
To be a help it transition
Right,
to
yes.
the neighborhood. Yeah, okay, well that looks like what we got for this month. Like I said, we already talked about the preliminary subdivision plan, so not a super big agenda, but kind of those two developments that we talked about are large, 100-acre developments, so that's pretty sweet to get all that in there.
Yes.
All right, well thanks for joining us, Karla.
Thank you. Nice and simple.
That's right, and stay tuned, Sioux Falls. After the break, we're going to have Maren, who's our arts coordinator with the Planning and Development Services Department, talk a little bit about Sculpture Walk and then another initiative that she's been working on, so stay tuned.
Hello and welcome to today's Maintenance Minute. My name is Seth and I'm here with Bruce. We're housing specialists with the city of Sioux Falls. Bruce, I have an older home with a block foundation and every single spring I seem to get water coming into my basement. How do I take care of that?
Well, there's a lot of different ways you can take a look at that. You can check to see if you've got proper slope away from your house with the grade around the outside. That's one way to fix it. Another way is to do what we've got here, to go around the inside of the foundation and put in drain tile. Come in around, they take the cement out all the way around the perimeter in here, put drain tile down, pour concrete back over the top, put a sump pit in, and then you can discharge the water outside of your home. And that should hopefully take care of any groundwater issues or water coming in from the outside.
So the drain tile collects all the water, drains it into this pit, and the pump actually pumps it outside.
Right. Yep, it's pumped to the outside. There's a hose that's connected out there that can be moved around your yard. Some people use it to try and water their trees or their plants. The biggest thing is get it as far away from your house as possible, but not out onto the street or across the sidewalks.
Great. Well, there you go, folks. If you have an issue with water in your basement, sump pump is the way to go. If you'd like to see if one of our city programs can help you out, call 367-8180 or check us out online at siouxfalls.org.
Welcome back to Planning Preview for the month of June. Joining me now is Maren, our fabulous arts coordinator for the Planning and Development Services Department. Thanks a lot for joining us again.
Thanks for having me here. Appreciate it.
So we had you on, was it a year ago? How long have you been?
Just when I started, maybe a month into my job.
And our ratings were through the roof,
They
and
were.
so
It was
we had
your
to have you.
best episode.
We had to have you back on so we can get our ratings up again.
Exactly.
No, we wanted to have you on this one because to talk a lot about, you had two really big art initiative things. One that's every year, but this other new one, so we'll talk about that too. But let's start with one that we see every year, but I think people love, obviously, is the Sculpture Walk.
Yeah.
And those sculptures were installed, middle of May, beginning of May?
Beginning of May, just a couple weeks ago. So I think our biggest showing of sculptures yet, I think 80 or 81 pieces. And they just went up, beginning of May, all around downtown, and actually this year extended into the Cathedral District too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so if you are, into doing the Sculpture Walk, you can even take your walk all the way up there. So it's expanding in location. There's new pieces at the Steel District.
Yep.
We've got a couple pieces that actually are leased from Sculpture Walk, so past Sculpture Walk pieces that are being leased by other businesses around town.
Oh, really?
That are going in. There's a few that are going in at public libraries, one going in at Perch
cool.
Restaurant, one going in at Jacobson Plaza, hopefully. We just have a couple approvals to do, but there's sculpture everywhere. And Sculpture Walk is really, I would say, I think the organization in Sioux Falls that has kind of put us on the map in public art. Sculpture Walk has made my job, opened the door for my job, and made my job easier because it's really gotten the public excited about public art, and they expect to go downtown and see things that challenge them, surprise them, things they love, things that maybe they don't love, but spend some time thinking about. And I don't know if you've been downtown yet, but there's some really good work.
I've seen a couple of them. I haven't been able to walk around the full thing yet, but that's surprising to me. You're telling me you have to go through the red tape to get something at Jacobson Plaza?
Just a little bit, just a little bit. But it'll be a piece. Hopefully, people recognize it's a piece that the city owns that I I think will be a really good fit there. So
Good.
keep your eyes out for that. But yeah, I mean, the sculpture walk this year, I think there's some artists featured that have been featured for years on the sculpture walk. There's new artists this year. They always do have local artists, and it's completely like blind selected.
Oh,
so they really pick the pieces they feel like are going to fit the public well, and it always happens to be a good chunk of local and regional artists, which is exciting. So, but there's Canadian artists this year. Yeah, there's a good friend of mine got her work on Sculpture Walk this year. So there's some interesting work this year.
So you talked a little bit about how it expanded to the Cathedral District. How do we keep expanding it then? Is that businesses or property owners stepping up to say, we'll sponsor this pedestal to be able to put one? Is that kind of how we do it?
I believe the neighborhood association at the Cathedral District was really the ones pushing it. And so I think they had some sponsors come forward to have pedestals throughout the neighborhood. So yeah, it really is local businesses, local supporters, individuals that decide to sponsor a piece, and then they get that rotating art every year. And so it keeps expanding because people want to join in on the experience. So.
Yeah, no, super cool. And then you had I think you talked about the one in front of City Center right now. That one is going to Perch.
That's going to be in front of Perch.
Which is perfect.
It is. And one of the things that myself and the Arts Commission really focuses on is where, besides downtown, can we focus some art?
I agree.
And so this year with the Neighborhood Grants Program, a couple of the neighborhood associations applied for grant funding to have a piece of art. And so Ronning Library is going to get a piece of art. They are a local artist. Steve Bormas is putting a piece at Ronning Library. Oakview Library is getting a piece of art. Terrace Park is releasing a piece. And then actually downtown Sioux Falls is doing some traffic slowing murals on the roads.
Really?
So they're in the process of designing. We're working really closely with the Active Transportation Board to make sure everything is really ADA compliant and aligned with our low visibility community, and doing some traffic slowing initiatives that feature art. So some cool stuff.
That is really awesome. And then, so you said there's 81 pieces, and then people can walk around and then they can vote on the People's Choice.
Yeah,
correct?
so we changed the process just a couple years ago. So there's kind of two processes now. So People's Choice, it's the piece that everyone falls in love with, that the public really enjoys, and it's usually typically a really fun, exciting piece, and that artist is awarded. And then they also have a jury that selects 3 of what they deem kind of the highest quality pieces on Sculpture Walk, and then that goes to the Visual Arts Committee.
Oh, okay.
And from there, really our Visual Arts Committee is made up of professional artists, people who really know this work. They are very aware of what materials are good for us to own, what is reasonable for us to maintain. And then from those 3 pieces, they vote on the piece that the city will purchase. And every year the city purchases a piece of sculpture that's added to our city collection. It spends 1 year in front of City Center. And then we, as the Visual Arts Committee, determines what's the best location for this piece. So the piece that we bought last year is this very cool like seed pod piece. So we're thinking about where are locations next year that we can put this where it's really going to be featured well. Maybe the Arboretum, somewhere where the plant aspect of it really fits and comes in, with the theme.
So like the one that you guys are putting in front of Perch, is that still will be owned by the city?
Yep, it's owned by the city.
And then we still maintain it, so it's great to be able to, that building, what they've done with that building and restoring it, it's nice to be able to incorporate some of the art in front of there too.
And actually the artist of that piece is a local artist, and he's actually the baker.
Oh, really? Well, that works out perfect.
So it works out really, Cameron Stahlheim.
Yeah.
So we've worked with the building owner there, so we're just kind of in the process of figuring out how to get it installed. But it's great to see a piece of art going kind of outside of downtown where there's still a lot of people.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's nice to be able to expand it throughout the entire community. So that's been great. They've been able to work on that. So let's switch gears here, because you guys were able to announce a week or 2 ago, sometime in that frame, about this exciting new project that's going to go on one of the walls of the 300 building, correct? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so this was a a project that was brought to my attention about a year ago, right when I started. And I don't know if you remember the national attention that the mayor got for this relationship he had with a local artist in town, young local artist who's a graffiti artist who got into a little bit of trouble for illegally creating art on a bridge. And the mayor kind of fell in love with his artwork and recognized that, okay, you know, this is illegal and we shouldn't be doing this, but you have real talent. And so he chose to support this artist and help him kind of pay his fees by commissioning a piece of artwork. And then from that relationship, this conversation got brought up of, is there a place, like, can we create a place where artists like Jaden can create something, have a canvas that they're not going to get in trouble for using? And there are a lot of cities that pursue projects like this. Rapid City has Art Alley, which is kind of a similar project, super cool project, and it's a free permit. Our project is as well, a completely free permit for artists. You know, throughout the process, we explored a lot of different locations. We even explored city property, but really we determined that this kind of like almost kind of free speech project is probably not the best fit for city property, public property. And so I was really lucky to kind of find the right partners in the community that also saw the value of this and wanted to pursue this project. And so the 300 building, Danielle Marrow, who owns that building, I saw her wall. I see her wall all the time because it's close to city center, and I was like, "This is perfect," because it's visible, but it's also kind of in a little bit of an alley, and she has a ton of wall space. And so I called her, and I said, "This is an idea that the mayor's passionate about. Is this something you'd be interested in?" And she was on board pretty much right away. But she said, "I don't want to manage it. I don't want to be I don't want to be the project manager." And so we partnered her with the Visual Arts Center at the Pavilion to manage the project. And so the permit application can be found on the Washington Pavilion's website. Artists can pick up their free permit from the Washington Pavilion box office, and they kind of manage it. We also are encouraging not only artists to find sponsors to help support their work, but we're encouraging businesses and supporters to step forward and support artists who might want to do this, because materials are expensive. And you know, I think the hope is that the pavilion might eventually create some sort of support fund. But right now, you know, these first few artists that put their art on the wall, Norberg Paints came forward as a sponsor. And so they provided all the materials for these artists. And it was a no-brainer for them to get involved. And so I hope to see local support stepping up and supporting artists so that that project can continue to grow. And yeah, so it's exciting. It's something very different for our community.
That's great. I mean, to try something new like that. So we got a little bit more time here. Why don't you just, is there any other things you're working on that you want to tell the public about or that you're excited about?
Yeah, I mean, it's not as exciting, but it's exciting to me. One of the things that the VAC and the Arts Commission's been working on is working on the city's first public art policy.
Okay,
great. Now that, you know, Sioux Falls has always had a great public art program. We're growing, we're very interested in public art, but we've never had any real infrastructure for how we do it well, or how should the city engage in public art responsibly. When a piece of art is using city dollars or is on public property, what's our responsibility to do that well? And so we've been researching policies all over the country. Brookings, South Dakota actually has a really well done public art policy. So I've worked with them to kind of tailor some other cities' policies to what can really work for Sioux Falls. We've talked to a lot of artists. We've, you know, really put the bones together of, I think, something that will help us move public art forward in a really good way. So we'll think about things like when someone wants to gift us a piece of art, what does that look like? What is that arrangement like? Or how often can we look at our city collection and say, do we feel good about what's in our city's collection, or do we need to, can we, getting rid is not the right word, deaccession is actually the correct word for if we've had a piece for a long time and it doesn't serve its purpose in our collection anymore, what's our responsibility to reach out to the artist with that piece? It talks about our maintenance policy. It talks about if we commission artwork or we acquire artwork, who is involved in that conversation? What is the public input requirement? All of these things that are really good things to think about when we talk about public art. So the hope is to do an informational with City Council in about a month.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it's big stuff, and it's not, the most shiny fun, but it will help the shiny fun things happen more smoothly and more responsibly. So.
Oh, I think it's super fun.
Yeah,
right.
exciting stuff.
So tell the audience real quick. So if anybody, all the millions of people that watch this program, right? Millions and millions.
Shout out.
Yeah. So if they wanted to say, hey, I would like to get involved with the art wall, or I'd like to get involved with Sculpture Walk.
Yeah.
Who do they contact for that kind of stuff?
They can contact me. We have I should have mentioned this. The city has a new arts and culture webpage. And so it's kind of a one-stop shop for, if you're an artist, for resources for you, whether that's the Arts Council or the State Arts Council, or any sort of resources that might help an artist. You can find information about the art wall there. It will link to kind of all of the areas you need to know. And my email is there, and I really welcome anyone to reach out to me and let me know if you see opportunities for public art, or if you have questions about if you're looking for an artist to do some work on your property. If you have questions about putting a mural up, you and I have talked about the mural ordinance
Yes.
quite a bit, and
Yes.
we want it to remind the public that doing a mural is not hard to do.
not hard, no.
It's actually quite easy, and if you have questions about getting that done, let us know. But come to the city website and check out our new page, and reach out with any questions you have.
Well, that's awesome. Thanks for joining us
Yeah.
again. It's been fun having you on
I'll
after
see you in
a year.
One more, a year.
Well,
from
you
now.
think we're going to have you on every year?
Well, I don't know. We'll see how the ratings
You
do.
will see that the ratings do.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for joining us,
Thanks.
Maren.
Appreciate
it. And all of the work you're doing.
Thanks.
So. And thanks for joining us for Planning Preview for the month of June. The meeting this month is on June 4th at 6 p.m. at the Carnegie Town Hall. And as always, we allow public input on any of the items we spoke about today. And also there is that public comment period at the end of the agenda to talk about anything planning related. Thanks, Sioux Falls, and have a great day.